Welcome to That's a Bet podcast, where we talk about the intersection of barbering, entrepreneurship, and technology. Today's special guest is a barber out of West Hollywood, California. He's known for cutting faster than majority of barbers and having a celebrity clientele. He's also in the process of creating a program to teach barbers how they can reduce the time on their haircuts without compromising the quality of their haircut. I think you guys are in for a special treat. So without any further ado, let's welcome Clint Cutz. How's it going, man? How are you today?
Man, I'm doing wonderful, brother. I'm doing
Doing
wonderful.
That's good, man. I'm glad that you had the time to be able to join us today out there in Hollywood. How long have you been out there in Hollywood?
About roughly about like 4 years now. I
Okay.
came, yeah, a little bit right before the pandemic.
Right before the now how was the pandemic for you? I know a lot of barbers, we were not allowed to work during the pandemic. How did you handle the pandemic?
Well, the truth of the matter is like, majority of us was not allowed to work, but we still had to do some of us still had to do what we had to do. You know what I'm saying? That's
Right,
just like
right.
so in the early stages, I did take some time off from work,
Uh-huh.
saying, but couldn't stay down for too long,
Same, same,
So
same.
so
So,
I started doing okay, so the way it happened for me is when the pandemic hit, I was in New York.
okay.
Where I spent most of my time, I would say roughly about 25 years. After coming from the islands, St. Lucia, where I'm originally from.
Okay.
So I was in New York, and my wife was in California at the time. So right before the pandemic hit, I came out to California, and that's where I kind of got, caught up with the pandemic while I was in California.
Now how long were you in California before the pandemic actually hit?
Probably about like 3 months.
Okay, I have a similar story. I came to Atlanta from Ohio, and about 5 months after I got here, the pandemic hit. So
Mm.
it was crazy situation. Now, how long did you actually say, okay, you know, I see that they telling us not to work, but I need to go ahead and get back to the bag. How long did you wait?
I would say probably about 2 months.
2 months? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
probably about 2 months. Yeah.
Now I know I remember around that time, barbers were getting a lot of hate. Do you remember a lot of the hate that barbers were getting on social media when they decided to go ahead and do what they wanted to do?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We were getting a lot of hate.
Yeah, that was crazy. So you said that you um one of your biggest strengths is being able to cut hair faster than majority of the barbers. How did you get to the point to where you were able to cut hair so fast?
Okay, so when I first started off cutting in New York, I started off when I was like I would say roughly about like probably like 19,
Hmm.
19, 20, right? Um I knew how to cut already back home in St. Lucia, but I wasn't cutting on a professional level.
Okay.
So when I came to New York, the barbershop that I started at was at a very busy location. We had like mad traffic always coming in, a lot of walk-ins. And I was just not putting out, cuts in a timely manner. Like my cuts was just taking, about an hour, hour and change. And the
Uh-huh.
guys at the shop at the time, they were already, pretty well established. And everybody was just kind of going through cuts. And what I noticed where I was having most of my um when it comes to like my time was really with my fades, right?
Uh-huh.
And I started off just like every barber, doing fades using guidelines. And when I noticed using guidelines, removing that guideline was one of the main things that would really slow me down in my cuts.
Took a lot of time.
Added to, yeah. So that's when the thought just came to me, and I was like, what if I could switch that around
Hmm.
and start my cuts, start fading up and gradually blending down and worrying about the guideline, as the last. When I got to
Mm.
that point, I noticed that there was no need for guidelines.
Hmm.
Um, it was a game changer because you know, realistically, when you look at, barbering, majority of, almost every barber all over the world, that's how we all are taught how to cut
Right. Put the guideline in there
the
and then
guidelines,
level
right?
up. Yeah.
Right, and level up. But when you really look at it, guidelines are really there for only two reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's to help you understand where your fade starts and where it ends,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're already somewhat experienced, you already have every barber that's pretty much, have some type of experience. I'd say even, you cut in for probably about 3 months in, you already have a good idea of where your fade starts and where it ends. So
Mm-hmm.
there's really no need for guidelines, right? So when I look at fading, guidelines is really the beginning stages of learning how to cut, right?
Mm.
But we are not being taught that. You know what I'm saying? No one is
Mm.
talking about this, no one is really explaining it. You know what I'm saying? The real reason for guidelines, and everyone sees it on social media, so everybody's just doing the same thing. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Once you understand the concept, when you put it into practice, you get to realize that you've been wasting a lot of time
Wow.
from down going up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I'll put it this way. Let me use this analogy, to kind of break it down a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
We first learned to ride a bike, right? We
Right.
first start off with training wheels, right?
Right.
And when our balance, we remove those training wheels because we kind of, getting our balance. We kind of
R-
getting the concept of what it is to,
Right.
be
Right.
on.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
So there's no need for the training wheels anymore. So guidelines, I look at it as, same similar
The training
concept. You know what
wheels.
I'm saying? It's like training wheels. You know what I'm saying? Once you understand where your faith starts, there's no need for guidelines anymore. It's actually more of a hindrance than a help
Mm.
because you're not able to there's certain things when it comes to fading, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Sometimes when you're doing a fade, if you put that guideline in, right, everybody head is shaped, a little different and stuff like that, as far as like where the fade is supposed to,
Right. Right.
pretty much
Right.
stuff like. So sometimes you find yourself, you might put that fade up a little too high, and then when
Yeah.
and now you trying to, there's no room to really stretch the fade out, and that's why certain fades don't come out as clean because it's kind of it's too compressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, right, the ultimate fade when it comes to, the best quality of a fade is a stretch fade where you can't really see where that fade starts and where it ends. That's that type of blurry blend that you need. But if you already put that guideline in, there's no room to stretch the fade. So now it comes out compressed, and that's why certain times, you see dudes walking around, you know what I'm saying, with the fades might compress because the barber, there's no space to stretch that fade out.
So let me ask you a question with that, what
Sure.
you just said. So I know in Atlanta and California and New York is different styles. Have you ever heard of the term quick fade? Is that something that you've
Fade.
heard of? Yeah.
I never really heard of the term like quick fade. People would say, we
Right.
do it or whatever, but I
So
never.
you mentioned how you need that you had that compressed space and then you could stretch it out.
Right.
A lot of one of the new things that I've seen that have come out with the younger barbers is they like to do a quick fade to where it almost look like a soup bowl, but it's still a fade, and
Yeah.
they had that fade in that compressed area right there.
Right. Right.
Do you ever do any of those type of cuts
No,
or
I don't do
fades?
I don't do those fades. I
Oh,
don't, to me, for me, that's not even really like, a fade. That's not really a definition of a fade. You know what I'm saying?